Hi, welcome to the Israel First television program with myself, Martin Blackham, and with my wife, Nathalie Blackham. We welcome you wherever you're watching in the world today with a program that looks at Israel. We look at the news, we have interviews, and we look behind the scenes as well as the Hebrew roots. And today we've got a special update for you, and we're going to be doing a newspaper review. And we've got the Jerusalem Post, and I've got the Haaretz newspaper, and it's talking about the story of a terrorist attack. The lead story, that is, in the paper is a terrorist attack. It says, Rabbi, father of 6, killed in drive-by shooting in Samaria. And the Jerusalem Post reported on the recent terror attack near Havat Gilad, and an Israeli man was murdered by Palestinian terrorists in a shooting attack on Road 60 near the Jewish community of Havat Gilad. The Israeli man, later named as Rabbi Raziel Shavak, a 35-year-old father of 6, was shot dead while driving down Highway 60, the army said. Magen David Adom, the Israel National Ambulance and Emergency Services, received a report of the shooting and dispatched paramedics and an MDA team to the site of the attack. The victim had several wounds to his neck and upper body from a reported spray of 22 bullets and was taken to Mir Medical Center in Kfar Saba. The hospital said that he arrived, the Rabbi Shavak arrived with no pulse, no breathing, and showed no signs of life. Despite the efforts of the medical team, he was pronounced dead shortly after his arrival. MDA paramedics who were first on the scene said, I saw a private vehicle at the side of the road close to the safety barrier which had been shot. The driver was in the driver's seat semi-conscious with gun wounds to the upper body. And this is
and it's him even who's been able to phone his wife to say have been shot.
Right. And it's important, whilst we don't want to overemphasize the fact that there is still terror attacks in Israel, it's very important for you to know that this is something that Israeli civilians have to deal with on a daily basis. That's why there's so much security in Israel. So when you come and visit and you wonder why there's so much, it's because of the threat of terror. And you know, the other important point is to emphasize that despite the fact that there is peace and there is great security, this is a threat that is also there at all times, really.
And this was in Samaria. And since this murder, they discovered that it was Hamas who was responsible for that. And they find the terrorists. There were few together. One has been killed, but the other one now is in detention.
And also also in the Jerusalem Post, there's another story on the front page, and I'm going to be featuring this. Also, I just wanted to mention, by the way, that it's also this terror attack was also in the Haaretz newspaper. It's not a paper that we so much have on the show, but it's there you go. Israeli killed in drive-by shooting near Havat Gilad settler outpost, and this is from the Haaretz newspaper. And going back to the Jerusalem Post, it says the Prime Minister, that's Benjamin Netanyahu, says Israel thwarted attacks involving planes in Europe. Continuing with the terror aspect, the Jerusalem Post reported that Netanyahu, who was speaking to ambassadors from NATO countries, Nathalie, that Israeli intelligence has thwarted mass terror attacks in Europe that involve civil aviation. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said in a possible reference to a 9/11 type attacks planned against European targets using hijacked aircraft. Speaking in Jerusalem to the ambassadors of the NATO countries, Netanyahu said that the world is threatened by radical Sunni groups, initially led by Al-Qaeda, now by Islamic State, and radical Shiites led by Iran. When we talk about ISIS, he said, it's important to understand that Israel helps Europe in 2 fundamental ways, the Prime Minister said. The first is that through the intelligence services, they provide information that has stopped several dozen major terrorist attacks, many of them in European countries. Some of those could have been mass attacks. And Israel has also saved many European lives. The second manner is that it's working with Europe and NATO in the fight against Islamic State and preventing the establishment of ISIS West in the Sinai. So Israel is really doing a lot behind the scenes to prevent terror in the world, and it's something important for you to know. I know many of you are advocates, that you're working to promote Israel, and this is something very important to tell other people about, the important work of Israel in stopping terror attacks. Now, we're going to have David Bedding coming into the studio, and he's going to be talking about his book, Roadblock to Peace, some of the activities that are happening in the Palestinian Authority. And the reason that I mention that is that it's featured in the Jerusalem Post. It says, this is the same newspaper, so many stories in one paper this time. It says the Palestinian paid terrorists nearly $350 million in 2017. $350 million paid by the Palestinian Authority. Well, why is that so important? Because it's the money, the financing of terrorism, that enables it to take place. If the money is cut, then a lot of terrorism stops, because it's not paid for. And a lot of this money, by the way, that's paid to terrorists is from European countries, from America, from all different countries in the world. And it's something that President Trump, and I'll maybe mention that a bit later in the program about that, but it's something President Trump has been working to stop, because the funding of terrorism, it's unbelievable that taxpayers in different countries in the United Kingdom are paying for terror to take place. And the average income of a Palestinian is $580 a month, which is what the Palestinian Authority pays terrorists who are sentenced to 3 to 5 years in prison. The Palestinian Authority pays terrorists who are sentenced to 20 years or more in prison, in other words, those who've committed more serious crimes, including killing of Israelis, 5 times that each month for the rest of their lives. So they're getting a salary for life. So this is something which has been happening for many years, but has really only recently been put in the limelight. Mm-hmm. And one of the issues is, and Defense Minister, the Jerusalem Post refers to this. Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman said the Palestinian Authority pays over 1 billion shekels a year to terrorists and their families, thus encouraging and perpetuating terrorism. Mm-hmm. That it's not just keeping it going, but it's encouraging it, because if you're short of finance, it's a way for your family to make money. It's a way to support the family, and so this has to stop. Now, one of the issues has been, and you may be aware of this, is that the money has been given for Palestinian refugees. In other words, for people who are poor or people who haven't got a job or whatever, but it's being siphoned off by people for terrorism. And so whilst nobody wants people to be in a serious poverty situation, it's important that countries of the world take responsibility for where the money goes. And I think that Trump is trying to change that direction. Yes. For where the money is going.
He's the only president in the world who is really doing something concrete, and we can see result of what's happening. So it's very important. And when we're speaking about that, also Israel has to build a wall around Gaza Strip because they are having too much attack. And that there is also some tunnels have been built. But now, eventually, after some research, Israel have found a way how to discover the tunnels. And so there is some who've been, I think they find 2 and done really special work on that. But sometimes they have also even tunnels who has been destroyed by themselves. It wasn't built properly, or, things happen. And it happens also this week. But this is what's happening. Israel is beginning to work with 2 billion shekels for doing a barrier which is underground. So it's above and below. So they won't be able to do some tunnels, and they are starting on the side where they knew where tunnels were in the very south, And so Hamas is not so happy, obviously, because they can't do so much than before. And we can see that there is already less attack in the Gaza region.
Which is unbelievable, really, that that they are complaining about a war, you know, because they can't do terror, you know. But again, unfortunately, this is not reported in the mainline.
I know, it's because
media.
of that we want to tell you the story. And also, which is not so much said in the press too, is like Egypt is also helping. So because of that, Hamas
to
don't
stop.
have
It's helping to stop it.
To stop the terrorism from Hamas. So Hamas is feeling really bad. So now they see that they can't do very much in the Gaza Strip. So now they are going into South Lebanon, and they went also back to Iran and beg for some money. And Iran is giving us again some money to Hamas. So Hamas is happy and try to have more weapons. But right now, they are also trying to have some factories of weapons in South Lebanon, which is, again, a big thing. So, again, Israel also has to think, and I don't know if it's said too much in the press, but I don't think these things have been said. And, again, we know that you are Christian and praying about that, so please pray for the borders, because Hamas see that they can't do so much in the Gaza Strip, and now they are going in the south of Lebanon.
And in the same paper, where it says the Syrian army reports Israeli strike overnight on targets near Damascus. And as Nathalie was saying, there's things happening in Lebanon with Hezbollah. Not to confuse them, we have Hamas, which is the terrorist group in the Gaza Strip in the south. But in the north of Israel, we have Hezbollah, the terrorist group, who are operating in both Lebanon and Syria. And
funded again by Iran. So people really need to know that they can't do anything if they don't have money. And Iran is giving a lot of money to Hezbollah, and Hezbollah is again Israel. So something again needs to be done about Iran, and is what Netanyahu is speaking about all the time, and Trump is really also picking that up, and things need to happen.
Yeah, and it's very interesting because although it's not confirmed, the usual thing of when Israel attacks other countries, it's not confirmed or denied. But Israel has had to go into Syria because of the problem of Hezbollah, and the Arab media reported that the Israeli Air Force struck Syrian military positions east of Damascus, that's the capital, in a series of overnight raids, the Syrian army said. In a statement carried by state media, the army claimed Israel attacked Syrian territory with jets and ground-to-ground missiles causing damage. The army added that its air defences had hit an Israeli aircraft, which again is neither confirmed or denied, and had intercepted some rockets fired at Syrian targets. Local sources in Syria reported the sounds of explosions near long-range missile warehouses and other military compounds in Syria. So there's a lot of weapons that are being transported, and there's a whole corridor. It's something you can do some research into, but there's a whole corridor of weapons being transported from Iran through into Syria and then into Lebanon. And so what Israel has said, that we're stopping these serious weapons, these highly sophisticated rockets from reaching Lebanon. And so it's something they've had to do, really, and take action.
I know, and again, Netanyahu had to go to met Putin from Russia, and he had to explain to him, if something is going to be really against us, we need to do something, we need to take some action. We're not just going to stay passive. So there is a lot of tension in the north of Israel.
And you've got some things to tell us today, Nathalie, to share with us?
And there was, when you started to speak about what was happening, about this rabbi who's been murdered in Samaria, this was in an outpost. So it's a place where some Jewish people came to live. Again, it is legal because the place has been bought by a Moshe Zar, okay? And this was purchased in 2001. There is 42 families. And so a lot of people from the members of the government went to the funeral of this rabbi, and they saw how it was, and they didn't even have enough electricity. And it's cold in Samaria, it's the mountains, it's the winter, and they say, okay, something needs to be done. And I think it was also even about the water. And so now they are in the process to legalize, I mean, I don't know how to say legalize, because it is recognized as really a place where the Jewish people can be and also flourish. So other Jewish people can come into the community, and again, they have to do like the communication, they have to have electricity, the roads needs to be corrected, done, there is transport, there is, like even the phone, that they have good signals and all of that. So now is Lieberman say that they are going to have a special meeting next week and sort out this outpost. So I hope that it will be,
Yeah, I mean, we've spoken about this on the program before, and we've had Ambassador Alan Baker talking about the legality of the Jewish communities in what the West unfortunately calls the West Bank because of politics, but in fact it's Judea and Samaria, and we've had Alan Baker explaining that it's it might be defined, some people might define it as disputed territories, but that in law Israel is perfectly entitled to settle the land, obviously not interrupting other people's land rights, but usually this land is not occupied. The interesting thing is, Nathalie, that with Trump coming into the presidency, these Jewish communities are being more and more recognized by the international community. Before, there was so much politics involved from the international community condemning the Jewish communities in Judea and Samaria, but now we're starting to see a shift, not a huge shift, but a shift. Now, it's because of your support that we're able to do the programs today, and we love to hear from you, to receive your emails. You can email us all the information. It's not just at the end of the program, but we're going to put it on for you now. Now, we've had one or two emails. I'll just quickly go through them, and then we're going to tell you a bit about how you can support us, some of the facilities that we have on the Israel First website. Now, David from Connecticut in the United States says, Shalom, your vital message is more important than ever at this critical time. Please tell me how I can send a donation in US dollars to an address here in the United States. I wish you much success in your work. The world must hear the truth. Thanks. And so thank you very much, David from Connecticut, for your email. And we are working on having on our website information about how from the United States you can support us. But if you email us, we'll give you all the details. You can do it inside the United States, and you will also receive a tax, I think it's a tax receipt or a tax. It enables you to claim back tax in the States. And we've also had a email from Lindsay from North Carolina. She says, I've just found your program on Roku, and we're on the Roku box. Email us if you want information about that, and love it. Do you have a weekly email or blog I can subscribe to? Yes, we do. Thank you, Lindsay from North Carolina. We have an email that we send out on a weekly basis, and you can go to the website and subscribe to that. There's a subscribe button to get all our weekly news. It's available free. You can subscribe to that and keep in touch with what's happening in Israel. And you can also email us, and we'll let you know about other things that we're doing as well. So love to hear from you. Wherever you're watching in the world, would you write to us today, and we will be very appreciative, or you can email us or phone us. And I just wanted to mention the website has so much information that you can access if you would like to find out more about, say, the guests that are coming onto the program, the stations that we're on, the times, and information about that. It's all at the website www.israelfirst.org. There's also a Facebook page where we try to do a news story every day. So you can you can subscribe to our Facebook page. I believe that's the right expression. And then also to the YouTube We also put the programs onto our YouTube channel. So if you've missed one and you'd like to catch up, you can go to the YouTube channel and subscribe. That's another important way for you to be able to access the programs.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking about Yehuda Glick. You know, he was saying because of Vice President Mr. Pence came here in Israel, first time in the Knesset, which was very exciting. And this is what Yehuda Glick was saying, and he's also a Likud member of the Knesset. He was saying, when we read about the Exodus, we learn about two kinds of people. There is Yethro, which was the father-in-law of Moses, and he was a non-Jew, and he saw the significance and the rise of Israel, and he said, I want to stand with them. And there was the other one, which was Amalek, who was there, who was against the Torah and against Israel. And so it's important we see that there is these two fights together. But he say, when we have to have an obligation to fight evil, we have also an obligation to really welcome the one who want to work with us. So it's very interesting when Pence was coming, you can see that there is really a recognition also of the Christian world with the Jewish people, the one who are really standing with Israel. And we can see Netanyahu has really been stronger because Trump and Vice President Pence are really helping and not being against, but going alongside Netanyahu. And we can see the difference every day now in the country here.
And you know, it's very important because some of you're watching and you want to be involved in Israel. You want to support the work. Well, you know, as well as subscribing, getting the news, supporting us is a very important way for you to get the message out. And you can do that as well by the programs by being distributed. We're very happy for the program to be distributed and shown in different places. You can let your friends know, get them to subscribe. This is all building it up, and it's a media battle. Mm-hmm. We are in a media battle. We were only just yesterday with other journalists, and it is a battle for the truth. And you know, I was saying this yesterday, that, you know, it's the truth that needs to go out, and the truth about Israel. Well, we're coming very shortly to the end of the program. We just got time maybe to squeeze in a story from, this is from the Jerusalem Post again, and it's got, funny enough that Nathalie, you were talking about this, it says, Trump says to Palestinians, no peace talks will have nothing to do with you. No peace talks will have nothing to do with you. And President Trump has said to the Palestinians that if they want to make peace, then they have to take action regarding the funds that we were speaking at the beginning of, coming back again to the terrorist financing. And this is a subject that is going to increasingly come up because it's something that there's a battle over. You know, that the evil, that it's the money is for evil at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And you know, people's lives, people who've been murdered in terror attacks, like the Rabbi, he now has 6 children who are orphans. So it's not just the Rabbi that loses his life, it has consequences for his family, for his community, and even for other people who are affected by it as well. Well, it's been great to be with you this week. Do go to our donate page and have a look at that. I know that many people, you will really make a difference, not just for us, but for many people who are watching the program, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
So today we're going to learn about trees and fruits. Trees is etz, and plural will be etzim, and fruit it's pri, singular, and is perot in plural. Now you need to know, it's very important here, when it was the Ottoman Empire in Israel, there was a heavy tax on trees. Every tree had a tax, so a lot of people cut the trees, and it was very bad, obviously, for the land. So the very first thing that GNF, which is the Jewish National Fund, when it was created in 1901, and it was through Herzl, so there was a lot of things happening, And at that time, they were buying land and they were planting trees because obviously it was very important. And now, every year, there is a special time which is called Tu Bishvat, the new year of the trees here in the land of Israel. So the schools go out and they are planting trees, and which means they give really a conscience to the children that trees are important, that they give fruits and all these kind of things. So we can look, again, Israel is amazing because there is different climate, even if it's a very small country. So you can have oranges, apple, bananas, so we are going to look at the name. Apple is tapur, and plural will be tapurim. For oranges is tapuz, and tapuzim for the plural. So you can have some orange juice, which is mitz tapuzim, or you can have some apple juice, which will be mitz tapurim. Okay? Bananas will be bananot, and singular will be banan. So it's very similar than us. Another one also is limon, which is for lemon. So we look at few names today. We have to remember them. Tree is etz, and trees is etzim. Another, the fruit, one fruit is pri, and few fruits is perot. And we look at tapuar, which is an apple, tapuzim, which is oranges. And we look at the name also, Tu Bishvat, which is special here in Israel, is a celebration for the new year for the trees. So we've learned again some new things today. See you next week. Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Israel First television program this week as we look at the news and as we look at what's happening behind the news. And if you'd like to have further information, go to our website www.israelfirst.org. Email us at info@israelfirst.org, and remember, we're the program that looks at the land, the people and the language.